Hello and welcome back to the Endurance Championship here at the Drivers' Room. We're here in Season 4 Tier 1 at Round 5 at the Nurburgring in the Group 1 cars. If we look at the points, we can see that Kneejogger leads from Muller, but it's important to note that F1 is closing in quickly after 2 wins on the bounce. And we've got Ben, Longino, Senna, Gadget, Rocker, V8, Jules, Fours, Lorcas, Pluxtheduck, the reigning champion who hasn't scored a point yet after losing his points in round 1, and Jammy rounds out the field. Important to note also that this is the first season with relegations available, so the bottom 2 drivers will drop down to Tier 2. Let's see what happened out on the track. As we head down to the track now, here at the Nurburgring, we can see F1 has taken pole once again. It is important to note that there is a graphical glitch. Gadget 334 in second place should have his livery, unfortunately the game has lost it. So we'll take a look now on our grid walk. Like I said, F1 SSD is on the pole position. He's storming ahead in the championship this time, making a real charge. As we look at Gadget now in what should be the Sigma livery. Then we've got Plux in third on his return in the Pepsi car. He's got an uphill battle though to catch F1 now. Then we've got Mung in the Swan liveried car. Then we've got Kneejogger in the updated Liverpool colours, followed by Senna in the Toyota as well. He's putting in a good showing this season. Then we've got V8 in the Audi, followed by Ben, also in the Toyota. Then we've got Muller in the Red Bull car with the classic Red Bull can style livery this season. And at the back, unsurprisingly, in the Peugeot, we have Fours, which will not be a car suited for this track. As they roll off towards the start, we've got a rolling start because of the dangers of the Nurburgring. Turn 1. And we are on the way! Let's see what happens here. Looks like F1's got a pretty clear start. Gadget has not chosen to get into the slipstream. Let's see how they get down turn 1. Oh, it looks like Plux has dived a little bit too tight. The 2 cars. Oh, there's a big slide there for Plux. That looks like a good opportunistic overtake there for Mung. He slides it up the inside. Now Plux is going to be kicking himself for making that mistake. Oh, and there's contact between the 2 cars. That's allowed Kneejogger through. As we look a bit further down the field, Senna's under attack from Ben, who got a great start, it looks like. And there's V8 in the Audi, the other tractor. And we've got Muller. A long way back because of the disadvantages of the Peugeot 4s. So we're back on board with our race leader. It's F1. And then we have Gadget in the car with no livery. Then Mung's holding on to third. Then Plux, who seems to have got back past Kneejogger. We'll have to see how he managed that. Let's jump back on board. Riding on board with Pluxtheduck. So trying something a little bit different here. For the start of this race, we're actually not using the display at the start just to get the more visceral look. Oh, he got a great run there. Is he going to still send it down the outside? He does. Kicks the... Oh, the tail steps out. Heavy, fat with fuel. Overtake there from Plux around the outside. Kneejogger was very lenient though, he could have made that harder as he rolls through the back of the field there. Towards the front now with Gadget and F1. I do apologise, this is F1 who used to be F1 SSD. The new PSN changed name function. He's now decided to go with the slightly easier F1. Now Kneejogger's under attack from Senna a little bit there. It's important to note that around the time of this race there was a physics update for the Toyota hybrid system, which gave it a lot more punch It was around the end of Season 3 that occurred. This is why we've seen better results from the Toyotas. As we see, looks like Plux also having a go on Mung, as we see Senna having to defend hard from Ben, but Senna's gone wide. Ben's going to have the cutback, but he can't get on the power well enough. Senna cuts him back across. Sorry, that wasn't Ben at all. That was Kneejogger in the Audi. I do make myself a fool of myself there. Actually, Senna managed to get past Kneejogger. Completely missed that. So we're on board now with Gadget in P2. He's kind of staying with F1, but F1's trying to stretch that gap. F1's looked pretty unbeatable in the races he's been in so far. Winning both the Kyoto in an absolutely gripping race. The Group 2 cars taking Gadget around the outside and then basically lights the flag victory last time out in Group 4 cars. So on board with V8 near the back of the grid, just closing down Muller if you can. The tractor isn't the best of cars, but it's also not terrible. It's also quite distinctive, makes a distinctive sound, and it's nice to see them on the field. They're not always on the grid. And there's fours in the Peugeot. Back and see. Yeah, oh, making a mistake. This is how he lost the position to Muller then. He made a mistake, went wide out of the tricky right-hander, and Muller sweeps round. So we're back on board now. We've brought the graphics back up just to make it a little easier to keep up with the race. But just for that opening lap we wanted to see just the cars. Or at least just the start. There's Gadget. It's such a shame that the livery has been lost, because that's a fantastic livery, the similar cars. We look at Plux all over the back of Mung again. Mung having had much better form this season since he ditched the Mobile 1 Monster team, moved to having Swan sponsorship of his own race team, and he's been doing much better. Let's see what went on here. So Ben had a look on Kneejogger and he made it stick, but now he's going to be on the outside. Can he brake late and cut back across? He's going to have the Toyota's extra boost. Clean move there, good work. So that explains that. So now on board with Plux and Mung. There's Mung. Look at the difference in speed between Mung's Porsche and the Toyota. Plux goes deep on the brakes. Then he makes a mistake there, runs wide. Can't get on the power cleanly, but he's kept his car close enough to have upset Mung's entry down there. So it's going to be out of the next. Oh, Mung's gone wide as well. That's going to give Plux a great run. This is the best place on the track for the Toyota because it can use that boost. Look at the difference in boost. You can see the exact point Mung's Porsche ran out of boost and Plux's Toyota could keep carrying on. He's still got almost a full battery, and look, the tiniest amount. There's Ben. He's also got a good battery. It looked like Senna was using a bit more though. And the Audi also is out of battery. Porsche recovering battery well, but these cars are massively influenced by the amount of battery they have. As you see, fours with the non-hybrid car is actually quite a good car through the corners. It just really suffers with a lack of acceleration. There's F1 stretching his lead if he can. On this lap it looks like maybe Gadget has caught up a little bit. There's Plux free now with Mung. Plux's first race since the first race of the season, which for all intents and purposes he won if it wasn't for technical glitches, allowing Muller to sweep through and take the victory. And there is Muller, doing quite so well this time. This track may not suit him so well, or the Porsche so well. It's starting to be put a little bit under pressure there. Pause. But through this section of the track as we ride on board with Pause, you can just see out of every acceleration zone he loses a bit of time. And trying to catch that back up is very difficult, even though Peugeot does have quite good handling. On board with V8. Brought on new Coca-Cola sponsorship this season. And he's trying to hold on to a Tier 1 position. It's important to note that the bottom 2 or 3, depending on numbers, drivers will be relegated at the end of the season. The top 3 or more drivers, depending on what, will give us a full Room 1. So Tier 1 is aiming to be full. That will give us our promotion drivers. So check out the Tier 2 races on our fellow channels. I believe Kamaru, DJ Rice and AGT Grimlock are going to be our outlets for Tier 2 action for this season. Next season things may change again as drivers are promoted and relegated. If you want to join the drivers room, then contact Gadget334 or myself or any of the other commentary team, and we'll point you in the direction of the Discord server. That's where we do all our communication. It's just kind of where we hang out as well and discuss race cars. Anyway, back on with the race. Kneejogger trying to find his way back around Ben. The Audi starting to show some weakness over the past few races. It didn't get a boost in its boost. And if you remember back to Season 1, for those of you who have watched Season 1, you'll know that Kneejogger actually was pretty much the class of the field in Group 1 cars. He took pole and a dominating lights to fag victory in Kyoto. If it wasn't for a mistake early on at Blue Moon, he probably would have won there, as we're back on board with the leaders. And since then, the Audi's kind of tailed off a little bit its pace. Actually, Plux looks like he's closing down Gadget and bringing Mung with him. So that might turn into a tasty fight for the bottom steps of the podium. But yeah, back on board with Kneejogger there, you can see it's just not quite as punchy a car. Let's watch Senna now. We've jumped forward a couple of laps and these cars are still in formation. Looks like Ben might be sizing up an attack on Senna, which he will be looking at with some interest. If he can get those two fighting, get them two wasting their battery, then he might be able to close in. Actually, it looks like he's got a great run there, but just about there. You can see as the boost runs out on the Audi, the Toyota just pulls itself a little bit ahead. He's not going to be able to dive him there, but it will cloud his mirrors, try and force a mistake from the Canadian driver. As we see Senna pits first to pit, which is actually quite a common theme. Senna is known to be hard on his tyres. On board with Mung. He spots that apex. Runs a little bit wide there, that's a shame. Got to fight off Kneejogger, but not lose much time, because of course this is the crossover point. We expect Ben to go probably a little bit longer than Senna though in the same car. There's Gadget back up towards the front. Definitely Flux is closing in on the older tyres. It's not a huge gap between these cars. You can see F1 just up ahead. Expect F1 to do something aggressive on strategy. We've seen that many times as we go on board with our race leader. He's comfortable at the moment, and he's definitely been shown to be the fastest of anybody in this race. It's not even really been close. There's Mung. Big gap from Mung back down to Ben and Kneejogger. There's Muller. So everyone's jumped past Senna. So Senna's going to have traffic. He's going to have to be careful there, not to get held up and not cause any contact. On the subject of contact, next season will be the introduction. Oh, actually, I interrupt myself, because there is Senna all over the back of Force. He's going to have to time this well. It's actually coming to quite a good section for this, because there's a hard acceleration zone coming up out of this corner. As long as he gets it done early. No, he didn't get a particularly good exit out of there. Now the Peugeot's extra grunt might hold him off. Or is he going to go for a cheeky lunge up the inside? Yes, it's a bit of a clumsy move. I think that was possibly a little too aggressive. And Force was a good sport. Oh no, Senna's been an excellent sport. Let him back through. He knew he pushed him wide, or forced him wide more than pushed him. This time, I think Force is kind of letting him through there. These two are still fighting for that 5th position. They've got to make sure it doesn't cost them too much time, of course, because Senna is going to be flying on those tyres. What they don't know, though, is Senna is being held up himself by battles with cars which aren't really in this same race. At least not at the moment. Maybe strategy will play them in. For now, it's a big gap from Kneejogger back to Muller. There we go. There it is again. The boost of the Toyota overpowering the Audi. I can see Kneejogger possibly switching cars at the end of this season to Toyota. He runs the Group 4 Toyota. He might now run the Group 1 one as well. Get a great run out of that corner. So we're on board now with Plux, who's managed to claw himself back about 2.5 second, 3 second gap to the Gadget. And we're on board with the Pepsi driver. Bit of a camera issue there. See him fighting with the wheel because he's hit that dirty air spot now. And in equal cars, he's not going to have that same kind of punch out the corner advantage that he had over the Porsche and the Audi. Gadget has managed to run himself out of a battery and Plux hasn't. So there's obviously some difference in their brake bias settings. It's looking unlikely that Plux is going to be able to retain the crown, the season crown, for the 4th time, having missed 3 races. You need F1 to kind of stop coming to races, but he's still got a shot at kind of top 5 in the championship. There's V8. He's fallen to the back now. And there's F1 now on lap 12. He's put in an excellent first stint. And looks like he is pitting, so he's going for the undercut. Yeah, 2 cars behind, not doing so. So as we expected, F1 going with the more aggressive strategy. This is, however, a safe 2-stop race. I'm just going to point that out at the beginning. F1 has got 54 litres of fuel left, so this is a safe 2-stop. He only has to fuel up once. So he's done an excellent job on fuel. As we see Ben and Kneejogger pit now. Kneejogger was on supers, Ben on soft. So it was a very impressive stint from Kneejogger on those super soft tyres. As we see Senna there, he's the man they've got to watch. Longino's already pitted. So will Senna manage to hold station, or will he lose the positions because he got held up? There's F1 who's put in. Looks like a very good first sector out of the pits. There's Plux, he's lost some time to Gadget after lap 12, looks like. Maybe this is a duff lap. Yeah, he looks like he's about a second and a bit off. Might have had a mistake. The Toyota cars are actually very susceptible to kind of a stall effect. Under heavy braking through slow corners, they can have a real problem where the rear of the car kind of swishes round, which loses you loads of time. It's quite catchable, but it does completely ruin your lap. It's a bit like the oversteer moment you saw there from Mung, but more pronounced at slow speed. It forces you to have to use a front brake bias on the car as well, which destroys the front tyres a bit. Though you can, of course, move the rear brake bias back for faster corners. As we see, both Gadget and Plux are in. Gadget's managed to save 2 litres more fuel. Will Plux have to go for a little splash of fuel, which would cost him a few seconds. F1 has absolutely put the hammer down on that first lap at the pits. What a great lap from him. Yep, as I said, a little splash. And that animation and that loading the fuel in does cost you some time. We're on board with Gadget, who's... oh, he's had a half spin, like I just said. Cold tyres exacerbated the issue. The stall happened. Probably just let the revs drop a little too far, and that's what causes it, but it's really hard to predict. But now Plux is all over the back of him. Gadget is on super soft tyres, and that's not going to be what he wants. Senna's had a similar issue but gone wide. The Kneejogger and Ben both... wait, Ben's had an issue there. He was right behind him. I think he made a mistake, turned in too early and cut the corner and got jumped back, which is a really unfortunate thing to have happen. As we're on board now with Plux, he's chasing down Gadget. Let's see what happens. He looks to the inside, but he doesn't brake late. Actually, looks like Gadget might have broken too late. It's a good run through, and that's a great overtake there by Plux. We lost the camera just for a second, but now we're back. Great move by the Pepsi driver, or the Pepsi M4R driver. So we're on board with the bumper cam. And you can see just how fast these cars are. So some Gadget there. There's Mung. He seems to be the big loser. He was much closer before his pit stop. He's lost a lot of time. And there's Senna and Kneejogger all over his back bumper. I think Kneejogger possibly gained a little bit through the pit stop phase. Of course, helped by the small error we saw Senna have at turn 1. And there's Ben, who was the big loser, thanks to that reset glitch. Oh, and it looks like this time Plux has had the issue, and he's managed to slide the car through there okay. As we're on lap 19 now. He's pulled out a small gap over Gadget, but not a large one. Gadget is on the better tyres, so potentially he's using the chance to fuel save. As we're on board now with F1, who is just storming away through that pit stop phase. It looks like he's pulled out maybe 6 or 7 seconds over the P2. And he's looking like he's on for an absolutely dominant victory. There is Mung. Still holding on to that 4th position. A good points haul for him. He was our pole sitter at the start of season 4, and actually, interestingly, had a good finish in season 3 to race 1. On board with Ben. No, sorry, Kneejogger in the Audi. Looks like Mung's had a problem. Kneejogger's close right back up to him at the start of lap 21. Holding a tighter line through that corner, but I just got a touch of understeer through there. These cars really do drive kind of on a knife edge. They're the hardest cars to drive for a reason. And they're not just fast. They're very twitchy. It's very easy to lock a little bit of a front brake because you're relying so much on the downforce. When it starts to come off, the cars become very unresponsive. They become very difficult to drive. What will be interesting is if these cars are still the chosen cars for Group 1 in 2020's edition of the Endurance Championship. Kneejogger now. There is rumblings that there may be a regulation change. Oh, and Mung's picked himself up a penalty. That's unfortunate. There is the power of the Audi, actually. So the Audi, and like I said, it's not as bad as the Porsche on boost. Oh, that's potentially a corner cut there from Mung. That could bump up his penalty some more. As he goes for the outside cutback line to try and maximise his exit. Here he comes down the front straight. Is he going to try and get him into turn 1? Is he going to get him before turn 1? Very close. I believe the camera there was expecting something a bit different. Mung actually manages to break him right round the outside. That was a great bit of defence there by Mung. Oh, but he's kind of stuffed it up a bit there. Didn't quite get on the power nicely, and now he's lost all that time that he'd gained. And now run wide there. That's gonna have to be Kneejogger having a good run through there. As we're on board now, you can see F1 has pitted again. He's still had a bit of fuel left. Will he go to Super Softs? Will Plux go to Super Softs at the end of this stint? Will Gadget stay on Super Softs? Either way, Plux now leads. Gadget's still right in his tail. Mung's still got Kneejogger all over the back of him. Ben's really fallen away. It's a real shame that penalty came out. Oh! A big step out moment there for Senna. That's going to cost him a bit more time. Senna's on a different strategy. He's on the 3-stop. That's why he's dropped away from the battle he was in. There's Force and Vendetta. They've stayed close together. Muller hasn't really pulled away. Actually, this is probably one of the worst showings I've seen from Muller. He's really not got on with the this track and the car combination. We'd expect him up in that top 5 battle, but he hasn't really found a groove here. Gadget now trying to stay with him. Of course, he's going to have slightly higher tyre wear than Plux. Expect these two to probably pit on the same lap again. Let's see if we do. Let's see if we can see their fuel levels. So Plux is down around probably 10%. And unfortunately we've jumped to F1, who's got enough fuel probably for the remaining laps in the race. He's measured this performance very well, as we'd expect. But really no one's been able to stop him. Oh, Mung's dropped a load of positions. What happens there? Oh wait, no, he's pitted. I do apologise. Unless... no? What's gone on here? So Mung's pitted. Then he's gone a bit deep and spun it into the gravel. That's a huge error. And Ben's had an issue as well. Possibly looked up to see the yellows. Don't know what's going on here. Hasn't he managed to get it going again? No, he's still out on the gravel there. He's fallen off again, I think, or struggled to get it going. Well, that's a huge mistake. That's absolutely thrown away Kneejogger's chance of a top 4 position. Senna's almost on the back of him. Mung's in the pits. He's done. Let's see how much fuel he's got. He's got just under half a tank. That should see him through to the end. As we're on board now with Plux. Gadget did the undercut. F1's obviously all the way through, but how's this going to go? Plux is on the super soft. Gadget takes the leading, not the lead, sorry, takes the second position away from him. So that undercut, and probably having a much shorter pit stop, because he probably made some, did some fuel saving when he was stuck behind Plux on those better tyres. And there's Knee, who's just lost buckets of time. He's going to be kicking himself with that mistake. Mung's in 4th, Ben in 5th, and then Knee down in 6th. Senna's in 7th, he can't be too far behind, no he's not. He'll have to try and make that 3-stop work for himself though, because he is probably going to have to pit again. And there's Muller, down in 8th. And Vendetta right behind him. And Force has spent the entire race basically within about 5 car lengths of Vendetta. This has been a very close race between these two. Vendetta, always one of those drivers who is close, but he's not quite ever really shown his best. As we're on board with Plux, who's going to get a bit of help here from a slow Gadget, thanks to V8's let's see what happens here. So as we head up towards the chicane, obviously way too far back to think about a move yet. Gets a better run through the chicane though. So it looks like there's another backmarker car up ahead. That would be Muller. So what happens here? Yep, oh no, sorry. I'm incorrect, that's Force. So Force has managed to get ahead. Missed that one. Plux right behind Gadget. Oh, Gadget goes a little bit wide. Can Plux make the most? No, he made a mistake as well. It was 2 mistakes by both the Toyotas. probably the most difficult sector of the entire track, in my opinion. You think it's easy, it's just, you know, a slow left and a little flick to the right, but it's actually one of the hardest corners because you've got to get on the power really early and get that car turned. And in cars like these, which don't like to turn at low speed, it's quite difficult. There is Gadget, he's having to force the move on fours. There's Plux, is he going to try and sneak through as well? Oh, a bit of contact there! Plux was a little bit hasty, I think, knowing that getting stuck behind a back marker through this sector could have been curtains for his chance of taking P2. There's Gadget. Right on there. Oh, Plux runs it really wide out there, that might be a penalty. Penalties are very strict here. There's Gadget still holding on nicely though. He's got one lap older tyres. He's going to have to hold off the hard charging Pepsi driver. He's doing it well there. Runs it through. Gets a good exit. As does Plux. There's Miller right ahead of them. There's F1 already crossing the line. Put in a very quick first lap out of the pits, but then not such a good lap afterwards. Maybe he's burnt his tyres out a little bit, or he just knows that he just wanted to secure that fastest lap, and now he can kind of back it off knowing he's got the big gap. Oh, that's a unfortunate place to have to overtake. And I did not make that easy for the podium runners. This time by Gadget seems to have pulled away a little bit. He got the better run, but then again, looks like Fox got the car turned and maybe a little bit better. There is nothing between these two drivers. They've been close all race. This has been a great battle. 10 minutes left to see how this goes. Good exit there from both drivers. Plux runs it a little bit onto the gravel actually, that might have cost him. He lifts it off through there, that actually might have cost him a load of time. I think Gadget might have got away a bit here, we'll have to see what happens of course. It is difficult to follow in the dirty air. But Gadget's putting on a great defence so far. Obviously done nothing to really have to defend as such. He hasn't had to do any moves, he hasn't had to cover the inside. Oh, actually that was a good run through there by Plux. This is a great battle on track between two of the top drivers in DREC. Or DREC or DREC, or however many people call this. So we're on board with some of the midfield runners now. You see Mung's still in fourth. It's kind of in no man's land there. And that is Senna behind him. Sorry, that's not Senna behind him, I'm wrong. That's Senna in seventh. There's Fours having a look on Miller. And V8's had a spin, so that's kind of the end of that battle chance for V8 Vendetta. Miller's back ahead of Fours, but it looks like a good battle between those guys. So we jump back towards the front here. And again, these two can't be separated. Same car. Similar strategies. That's another good run by both those drivers out the corner. Maybe Fox got on the power a little bit earlier. He's closer than I think he's been at any point through here. Maybe he'll have a dive into the left-hand corner. He's got a great run, but he's stuck on the outside. He's going to have to run it in a little bit later. He gets on the power earlier. Oh, and he gets his nose cut off there by Gadget. And that's going to compromise his line down into the chicane, which is probably where he was actually setting up the move. It's probably as aggressive a move as you can get away with. As we go into the chicane, Plux brakes much later, and Gadget's hit the curb, and oh my word, Gadget's gone round. What happened there? I think he just hit that curb and it bounced the rear up, and suddenly he went from having lots of traction to none. He's safe and far away from Mung, who's all the way back in the Schumacher S. So it's not going to cost him the podium, it's just going to cost him second place. F1's around, I think, 11 or 12 seconds ahead. We'll see what happens there. So we're on board now. A couple of laps later. Looks like Ben's managed to close right up to the back of Mung actually. Oh, and Mung's run wide. Gets it back on track. Now, oh no! It's broken too late, and he's done the exact same spin that Kneejogger did. That's unbelievable. Ben's going to sneak himself a 4th position. Kneejogger almost follows Mung through that crash. But now these two drivers are going to be really close on track again. Mung's thrown away a P4. He's still going to probably be top 5, but he's going to have to be careful. And Ben, who looked like probably the slowest of those 4 cars in pure pace, is going to probably come out on top. Great drive by Ben. Even though he had that issue early on, he's kind of fought back and dealt with others' problems. There's F1. He's just kind of stroking the car home. Does look like Plux might have closed the gap down a little bit, but not by much, and definitely not quick enough to have worried F1. Great drive by F1, good drive by Plux. Unfortunate mistake for Gadget, just clipped that inside curb with some lock on and probably a bit too hard. It's cost him. So we're on board F1, it's going to be the end of the final lap. This has been an absolutely dominating performance. He's barely lost the lead, only through the pit stops from undercutting. Great strategy, great drive, fastest car out there. Plux came through in 2nd, it looks like, unless there's a mistake. Gadget was in 3rd. As we cut back towards our victor today. And that's another victory for F1 in his quest to take the championship. It's a great drive. There's Plux, he definitely cut that down in the end. His first race back after an extended absence. Takes the 2nd place. Gadget, he'll be kicking himself for that mistake. He might have held off Plux. The P3 is still a good haul of points. There's Ben, who I do think is going to hold off. 5th and 6th. Can Mung hold off from Kneejogger? It's going to be exceedingly close. If he's got anything left in those tyres, he'll be going for it. There's Miller. A lap down, unfortunately. Just not his sort of track and car combination. Senna already came through in 7th. Fours will finish 9th. And let's go back round to see. There's Ben in 4th. Absolutely cracking drive. Possibly could have been a little bit more perfect if he hadn't had that issue with the reset penalty. But apart from that, probably wasn't going to ever strike 3rd place. And 4th was a great finish. And Mung is going to just about hold on to take a 5th position. Kneejogger probably is kicking himself with a 6th. He had 4th pretty much sewn up before that mistake. And V8's going to close us off in 10th position. After that thrilling race, F1 with his dominant victory has closed up to 2nd position and only 8 points behind Kneejogger. Then Muller is in 3rd. Ben and Gadget have moved ahead of Mungino and Senna. Then we have V8 Vendetta, Rocker, Force. Plux finally gets on the board with that Sarong 2nd place. Then we have Jules, Lorcas and Jammy at the back. Catch us next time for the Group 2 cars at Saint-Croix, where there'll be some more tightly contested action. Hope to see you then.